We've got this clip from Premier Smith breaking down the 9 bad laws that she argues are preventing Canada from living up to its potential as an energy superpower. And when I see this list, I think, like, if you were in the developing world, you would think that we had lost our ever-loving minds, that we are doing this to ourselves, where they're like, we just want to be able to flip the light switch and have things come on. Oh, you're leaving 800 years of clean burning coal in the ground? Okay, you guys are insane. But this is Premier Smith laying out the pieces of regulation that the liberals have brought in, which hinder our growth.
Can you be more specific regarding, quote, regulatory burdens and, quote, bad laws that you're referring to that you want changed at the federal level?
Well, I'm going to hand it over to Danielle. She has it memorized. I don't have it memorized, so let it roll, Danielle.
Sure, happy to go through them. I've got a little cheat sheet right here in my notes so that I always have them on hand. So first of all, C-69, we call that the No More Pipeline Bill. That needs to obviously have some substantial rewrite, and I think that that's what the 2-year to yes policy recognizes, is that has been a barrier to getting big projects built. That's one. The emissions cap, we're not going to be able to fill a new pipeline if we're capping emissions, which means capping production. With the aggressive targets, we would have to curtail production 2 million barrels a day by 2030. That's got to go. Carbon pricing, we want that to stay provincial. We have a $95 carbon price. Other provinces have made different choices for different reasons, but we want that to be provincial. We don't want them to take over carbon pricing. The clean electricity regs, I can tell you we have 17,000 megawatts of demand for AI data centers in our province. The only way we're going to build them is if we can build natural gas power plants. That won't happen if officials or if company executives are going to go to jail in 2035 for not having met emissions reduction targets that are overly aggressive. Tanker ban, again, if you can't put something on a ship, there's no point in building a pipeline to the coast, so that's got to go. The declaration of plastics is toxic. We have an integrated market back and forth between the US and Canada on plastics. If you're having to handle it like it's hazardous material, adds a bunch of additional regulation. Plus the federal government's partnered with us on a net zero petrochemical plant in Alberta. So it's chaotic policy to support and subsidize on the one hand and then try to ban it on the other. Net zero vehicle mandate, we've discussed that. And then censorship of Bill C-59. What we're hearing, I mean, if an industry is not able to talk about their genuine emissions reductions efforts without facing criminal charges for greenwashing, then we're kind of missing the point of the exercise. And the last one is we don't want to see export taxes on energy or export restrictions for the reasons that we've been talking about as well, that the Americans have a bigger hammer. If they cut off Line 5, not only does that harm Ontario, it also harms Quebec. And so we do need to find other routes, but in the meantime, we shouldn't be talking about energy restrictions because I think it would have a devastating impact on Alberta. So those are on Canada. Those are the 9.
What I would recommend to the federal government, and I have mentioned it, create a Ministry of Red Tape and Regulations. We did that, and we saved through sectors coming to us about unnecessary regulations that are duplicated between the provinces and the federal government. We found over $1.1 billion of savings and over 1 million people working hours. So that's a big chunk.
I'll go to Kris Oldcorn. Do you think Scott Moe might have learned something there?
He has not been as adamant as Danielle Smith has been with regards to government policy, with regards to natural resource development. However, he has stepped up in a couple times recently, for example, extending one of our coal plants to the end of its useful life, for example, instead of what the Trudeau government wanted. So far, the federal government has not come back and said anything about that yet. We'll see what happens there. But Oh, Lisa has her hand up.
I was just going to say, a couple of months ago, the government of Saskatchewan announced that any oil and gas project was going to have pre-approval
Yes.
through the government of Saskatchewan. So
Yep.
there actually isn't any red tape as it pertains to oil and gas projects in Saskatchewan right now. But that doesn't cover the multitude of other natural resources that we have in the province. And yeah, Kris, you're right. Keep going. Keep going.
And as far as the red tape goes, that's only provincial. You still got to go through all the federal red tape.
Exactly.
That's right.
Which is actually the more onerous red tape, which is also an overstepping of the federal government into provincial jurisdiction. So Scott Moe, he has, in certain instances, tried to be more centrist on certain things. I think he realizes, like, they basically lost all of Regina and Saskatoon. In the last federal election, they kept one seat between the two major cities. However, there's more seats outside those two major cities, and they have a comfortable majority in the legislature because we're only a two-party system here. And Scott Moe has been trying, and even in education, at least, and I know about this, he said one thing in the election, then as soon as the election was over, he flipped on it with regards to gender and changing rooms in public schools. Then he kicked it to them to decide what the policy would be, and they all said, we're not following the Parents' Bill of Rights, we're going to follow the Canadian Human Rights Code. And then he did nothing about that. So he, in one sense, he's very conservative on a lot of issues, but then on others, he's kind of like trying to play the center part to try and keep some center Sask party voters on his side.
I was going to say, publicly, he presents himself as very conservative.
Yes.
But privately, and as it pertains to policy, it is all liberal. It is all liberal. And Sask Party was an invention of the Conservatives and the Liberals coming together to turf the NDP. I would pay good money for a lip reader to find out what Scott Moe just whispered to Doug Ford when, God bless him, Doug Ford had the wherewithal to know that he was outpaced by Danielle Smith. I love the question was posed to Doug Ford, and Doug's
And
like,
he's like,
actually, I'm just going to let the one adult in the room talk about this because she knows. It's like, how embarrassing for Doug Ford that he didn't know the answer to that question. How embarrassing. But again, if there's any lip readers watching the show, okay, like certified lip readers, I want to know what Premier Scott Moe just said to Doug Ford. Yeah.
And not to mention, just yesterday, Ontario, Saskatchewan, and Alberta signed a memo of understanding, and one of the things in that memo was a pipeline.
Right. We've got a video on that that we'll show next. I know, Kris, you're just wiggling in your seat to talk. The one thing I wanted to ask you about, and I'll let you take this in whatever direction you want, is why do we need to create a bureaucracy of finding bureaucratic efficiencies? Can we just get one person who's already on salary in that department to find out any of the redundancies and then get rid of them and then like fire 1/3 of people through attrition? Like, I don't know what, like, does nobody see the irony of creating an entire bureaucracy for gajillions of dollars to find government efficiency? Stop it.
No, that's bass backwards. It's totally bass backwards to do something like that. Okay. Number one, we don't even need one person. Just do it for free. Steal our homework. Go to taxpayer.com. We have got articles that were posted there in a newsletter since 1990 showing you where to cut government waste. I'm dead serious.
What are your managers doing over there at the bureaucracies too, by the way? Like, what, isn't that their job? Isn't that their job kind of?
No, it's apparently, scratching your backside and watering houseplants. It's crazy. So yeah, we don't need yet another ministry, much less one that is a red tape reduction, that is a redundancy and kind of Orwellian. Two, biases declared. I'm a big fan of Danielle Smith. I think she's doing a great job as premier. All things considered, there's a few things we would like fixed. But to come to the defense of my rectangle brethren in Saskatchewan, okay?
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
You guys, Scott Moe has declared he doesn't have any carbon taxes. None.
He said he would go to jail.
He said he'd go to jail. Like, send the feds. Come take me, bro. So that's impressive. And again, Danielle, Ms. Premier, if you're watching, why do we have a carbon tax in Alberta? Like, we have a provincial carbon tax in Alberta. That is crazy pants. Like, she needs to follow suit with Scott Moe in Saskatchewan and get rid of all of them. I know that they're going to say, oh, we need it because of the oil companies regulating. No, just tune them out. We do not need any carbon taxes in Alberta. That should be something that she should have scrapped like by this fall. And to her credit, she is doing a massive like Alberta Next panel listening tour. She does take calls every Saturday on her radio show. She's very reflective and she takes advice. So I would encourage people to tell her to scrap the industrial carbon tax in Alberta.
Right.
Yeah,
Like
nothing made the Saskies feel better than to watch our politicians tell the federal government to get bent as it pertains to the carbon tax. And those politicians were richly rewarded for many, many years because as Westerners, okay, we like nothing more than to watch our politicians tell the federal government to kindly get bent. It's the best.
It's our provincial sport. I mean, and you're going to need bigger handcuffs if you want to take away Scott Moe. That man's got hands like like the Incredible Hulk. I remember my son was little and he had like Incredible Hulk boxing gloves, and every time I see Scott Moe's hands, I was like, those are his wrists.
I photographed him the other day. He has like frying pans on the ends of his wrists. They're amazing.
I know.
It's a true story. It's a true story. He has hands the size of toilet seats, I say. They are humongous. And actually, I just want to point out that today I'm wearing my handcuff earrings for sort of this exact same reason, to just sort of note the Tamara Leach, Chris Barber situation, but also it applies to Scott Moe. That's what he did. He dared the federal government to come and take him away to the slammer, and we all went, oh, yes.
Base.